Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. I am your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on Mr. Jon Strohbehn. He's a paranormal investigator, has a YouTube channel. He does a lot of historical things to make sure that the historical concept of the places that he goes to is being kept so that people know the history of it, because, you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know you don't know what kind of answers you got and how they fit together, and he's here to help us out with that today. I want to thank everyone who's on right now. Let's see, we got Pam. Thanks for being on. Hold on, we have on Magical Journey. One day we're going to get you on here too. I know you work, buddy, but you are going to be on the live with me, buddy. Fisher with Spam, thank you, brother. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it every time you're on. You're definitely going to be on the podcast too, but as you know, I'm a very, very busy man. I'm busy in the sense that, if you like the channel, you like what you see, you like the content, you like my guests and the topics we talk about, please do me a favor, go and hit that like and subscribe button, and I promise you that you will get more of the same. And if you also would like to be a member, you can also click on that as well, and you get an extra free show every month in advance. That way you get to see what's coming up in the future. You can also find me on Rumble, and you can also find me on Spotify. I also have a PayPal link at the bottom if you want to help me out. I'm trying to upgrade my equipment. This computer is 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that, and it's still working, and I'm lucky that it does. Anyhow, I appreciate you, each and every one of you coming on, and without further ado, let's welcome to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, Mr. Jon Strohbehn.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. How's it been, man? I haven't seen you in a little bit.
We've been pretty busy here too.
Oh, yeah, I see you started. By the way, John, everybody, is John. Do everyone a favor, all our watchers, our listeners, all the fans of the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
Okay. Well, our main website is paranormalhoustoninvestigations.org. One word, We have our YouTube site, which is exploring the supernatural with John. Well, it used to be John. We've changed it to PHI for Paranormal Houston Investigations. One of the members said, "Hey, John, we're promoting the PHI, not Jon Strohbehn." I said, "You're right."
What? Come to think of it, you have a point.
Yeah, you're right. So so we went ahead and changed it over on YouTube, and that is now our name. We have a Facebook page, several of them. One is a private page for our group. One is a public page for our group. And then, of course, I have my personal YouTube channel. Your personal Facebook channel. And we have TikTok. We have Instagram. We have X. So we're on all those platforms.
Okay, cool. So, John, you are a paranormal investigator in the Houston area. What is it that you do? What do you enjoy about being a paranormal investigator?
Well, I enjoy quite a few things about being a paranormal investigator. I like getting out. I like investigating. I like getting new equipment, to use and play with, new toys.
Yes.
Some people call me Peter Pan. I'm 78 years old, and a lot of people don't believe
Wow.
that. Yeah.
I would never guess that. You look to me, seriously, no joke, 60-ish, 63, 64.
That's what most people say. It's closer to the low end of the 60s or the higher end of the 50s. And actually, I'm active like that too, But anyway, some people call me Peter Pan because I refuse to grow up.
Yeah. Do you have any alligators in your backyard too?
No, I do not. I haven't experienced that yet. But in the last storm, now that you mentioned it, my backyard is a disaster from the storm. I have 7 trees down out there, and actually one in the front yard's got to come down too. So I'm going to miss that shade tree. I really am upset about it. But we're trying to.
Would you have like some high winds? What happened?
Yeah, we had it was kind of a tornado type action here in my neighborhood, in the part I'm in, and so this neighborhood was hit pretty hard, and lots of trees down.
If people are listening, you might be hearing right now where I am right now. So if I cut out, John, just stay on and maybe I can come back, because sometimes the power, this is Mexico, the power will cut out on you.
Okay.
And stay on as long as you can. You can talk as long as you want, and I'll try to find my way back to the show. But people are worried about me too, because I took a video and put it on Facebook because here there's no like storm drains.
Yep.
Everything just flows in the street. And everything comes down off the hill and flows right in front of my apartment here. And people were like, you have to get to parking where you are and get to where it's easily, John, 1.5 feet, 2 foot of water, and it is rolling. So, like my poor girlfriend, I don't know how she's going to get in the house. I guess I have to strap her to my back and carry her in. But, so I know all about the storm. So yeah, you had 7 trees come down, and you got yourself a chainsaw.
I've got myself a chainsaw, but the problem is a lot of it is high risk. One of my trees is on top of a neighbor's house, and it's on top of another neighbor's storage building. So, and I've got one that's leaning that needs to come down that's at a 20-degree angle over another neighbor's storage building. So, I mean, it takes a guy that's pretty talented with a chainsaw and has a team to be able to help him move these things and get them out of the way without damaging the property.
Wow, that's going to be a difficult task. I mean, I've had to do it a few times. I had one on my property here that was leaning out over my structure, and I got lucky. I knew a dude here, a Mexican dude, Carlos. Shout out to Carlos if he ever understands enough English to watch the show. And he literally shimmied his ass all the way up the tree. And then and then he put a rope up. I had to start the chainsaw, and then it took us like 2 hours, man. But shout out to those people who do that. That is hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jon, it's been a year since I talked to you. You were on the former podcast with Ryan and myself, and So what you been up to, bud?
Well, we've continued to do some podcasts. We're still working on trying to build our channel out on YouTube and get monetized, of course, like everybody else is. But at the same time, we're continuing with developing videos for educating people about the paranormal, which is one of our goals. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So
that's fantastic.
Are tax deductible from your income tax. And we noticed that a lot of people had fear about the paranormal, or they had misconceptions about the paranormal. We hear lots of rumors and stuff that are untrue and totally unfounded. And some people are just putting false information out. Some of the TV shows are even putting out, like crazy. So we dedicated ourselves to trying to promote education about what the paranormal is, what's going on, and how to deal with it. So
I noticed that you. Sorry, Jon. I noticed that you like to put out paranormal words that people hear, and you like to give it. You like to give the definition of it and kind of educate people. I think that's very interesting as well. I've always, you always post them on my Facebook page, and it's very cool that you do that.
Well, that's the first part of being educated is we got to speak the same language. So that when I'm talking about something, it means the same thing to you as it does to me. So we have ground to communicate on. And actually, I have close to 270 terms right now in our list. And when you sit down to try to educate somebody, who wants to sit down and learn 270 terms? But if we do one a day.
Right, especially if it's interesting, because some people are very interested in it. They just don't know where to begin. Or, if you're speaking the same terminology, then a lot of times, things can just happen. Excuse me, I got a little bit of hiccups. I've been on the hot roof all day long, putting in solar panels, so it's been a long day for me, Jon. And, so if you're speaking the same terminology, you can better communicate. And I think when it comes to this phenomenon, I think that's very important.
I do too. And so I thought that this term of the day was a good way to get it out to people and to stimulate interest in it. And actually, I'm dropping it right now on 57 different groups in Facebook every morning, so that everybody gets. And I'm getting up to 10 on some of the groups replies, or likes on it. So it's going over pretty well. Some of the terms are Indian terms. Some are from different areas, Spanish or Australia, or different areas that we've come across, so that we're educating people about things they may not have ever heard about before. And to be a paranormal investigator, you've got to be prepared to hear things, or, if you run into something, you've got to recognize what it is and be able to know where to go to find out more about it. So that's part of what that term of the day is about.
Fantastic. Real quick, Paranormal Paul just came on. So if you love the kind of stuff I do, Paul does it, and he kicks butt in it too. Go over and check out the Paranormal Among Us. Go like and subscribe to that channel. Not to mention Blondes and Booze, Texas Front Porch, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and all my other friends and affiliates in what we do, John. But you're the one out there in the field. When did you start doing this? What happened? What was the thing in your life, the catalyst that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this myself? What was that?
Well, the actual catalyst that made me do it, let me back up before that, though. I was a rescue captain in the fire department. And so
Wow.
I was with people as they died a lot of times. I have seen lots of death. I've extracted people from automobiles, burning buildings, things like that. So I'm familiar with people, and I noticed changes, physical changes in their bodies as they passed.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had a curiosity about it, for a long time. I've dealt with paranormal since I was very young, so it's been with me all my life. My wife was a white witch, and she was very interested in the paranormal, and she kind of got me interested in following the path a little bit. She became ill and was bedridden for a number of years. And so about that time, TAPS came out, and so we subscribed to the TAPS magazine, and also Christopher Moon had a Haunted Times magazine that he was putting out from Colorado. Beautiful magazine. Loved I wish that was still coming out. But anyway, we subscribed to these things, and my wife was very into it. And I thought, well, Chris was teaching at Ghost Hunter University in New Orleans, which is as close as he ever got to me. So I went and took his course. It was in 2006. And went through Ghost Hunter 101 and Ghost Hunter 102 with him. And I had a hell of an experience in New Orleans, a hell of an experience. So I got back and I shared it with my wife, and I got to looking for a team to join so that, I could go out with other people. I didn't want to do it by myself. And actually, it's unsafe to do by yourself. You really ought to have at least 3 people whenever you go anywhere.
Okay. There you go. A little tip for the beginners out there. John's been doing this for quite a while. So, yeah.
I like to have 3 people because if somebody becomes injured, somebody can stay with the injured and somebody can go for help. And the way some of these entities drain your power, you can't count on your cell phones.
Oh, wow, dude. I never even thought of that.
I mean, it's nice to have a cell phone, but hey, I've been at places where they drained everything and all the batteries died and cell phones weren't working. So.
And then you went to your truck and the battery in that was drained as well.
It can be. If they can find it, fast enough before you start up. But yeah, I've had one place where we pulled out all the instruments at San Jacinto Battleground out there where there was a big massacre. And as soon as I turned the instruments on, they died. Battery. Wow. And I had fresh batteries in them. Battery. I couldn't believe it. So I ran out of batteries that day.
You said that your wife was, my condolences, was a white witch. Could you, if of course, leaving out certain details, of course, would you care to, kind of expound upon that a little bit?
Well, she had started into witchcraft at an early age too. I think she probably got into it prior to college, but she went to Blenheim College in near Brenham, and she had a roommate there by the name of Candy, and Candy was into witchcraft, and she kind of led Kay into it, and Kay got very good at it. Kay was extremely good at casting spells and doing witchy things.
Witchy things, because my buddy on here, Magical Journey, he is a green witch.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a white witch, because I had to go back and check that episode. I think it's the one that just passed a week or two before. The audio is not good on my end, but he really he gets into gems and rocks, and if I make a mistake, please help me out, buddy. He's on here with us right now, and so when he hears about a white witch, he's always like, "Ooh, that's interesting." So I just wanted to. It's kind of a little bit of a shout out to him. So someone wrote here. Paranormal Paul wrote, What kind of equipment would you normally take on an investigation?
Well, I take quite a bit of equipment on an investigation, and I really, because we're educational and we're doing research too, we generally are trying to gather real, true evidence about paranormal and how to prove that it really exists. Because actually, in the scientific community, still they don't recognize the paranormal as being real because there is
Right.
no proof. So we're trying to gather proof and collected the data together so that we can present a case, perhaps. One of the most valuable pieces of equipment, in my opinion, is the EDI data logger. I don't have it right here handy.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet.
Well, it's been out for a number of years. I've had this thing for probably 5, 6 years. And what it does is it records the barometric pressure, it records the temperature, it records vibrations, it records EMFs. It has about 6 different functions it's recording simultaneously every second. So it prints it out into a Excel spreadsheet. And actually, they have a program where you can graph with it, where you can see temperature changes and stuff and things as it fluctuates.
Wow.
And if I set up my video camera where I've got the thing, it's got lights on the front. So if it's seeing a temperature change or a barometric change or vibrations, little lights are going off and you can kind of see when the activity is happening. If I coordinate starting my camera time-wise with a data logger and and the recorders and stuff all at the same time, I can sync everything, tie everything together time-wise. And if I see fluctuations in the data logger, I can go back and look for what's happening on camera or, other areas that identify.
So you gotta put the two things together and give yourself a little bit better picture of what's happening. Okay, cool, man. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. It's hang on 1 second. It won't take me but a second.
No worries. Go for it. Okay. By the way, guys, if you guys have any questions of Jon, he is the man. He's a very good water witcher too. We're going to get into some of that too. He's found keys and he goes over a map. This guy is the real deal, man. He's a real deal McCoy. I found him quite a bit of paranormal investigators. A couple coming up. One who bought a house. There's one who goes to a Masonic lodge. There's a lot of things coming up. So if you have any questions, by all means, ask Jon. Jon knows the stuff. Oh wow, dude! And you can take that and connect that with like a USB to your computer or something and look at the data.
Yeah, well, actually, it's got a USB card installed in it, so you can just put it wherever you want it, and it'll record to it as soon as you turn it on. And of course, these lights across the bottom, are the vibration lights, and then it's got lights here for EMFs and stuff. It actually gives you a digital EMF reading, and up here it's got humidity and pressure changes that it's recording. So you can see all that with this little device. It's in a rubber case, so it's protected from vibrations. It
bounce it around. Yeah, especially as ghosts, I'd like to knock things off the table.
Yeah, or when you're transporting it, for that matter, too. It protects.
True. So Pam asked, Pamela Stench, my trusted helper. She wrote, "What does that go for? How much those kind of things cost?"
If I recall correctly, it's about $239 or so.
So it ain't exactly cheap, but the way you're presenting it, it might be one of the most helpful things you can use.
Invaluable, because it records all that data, and you can print it out and you can show people, and you can compare it to your video and say, but this was happening at that time. Now, a lot of people like, the cat balls, and they like things like that light up. Things that light up on camera are interesting. They get your attention, but it doesn't report anything,
Okay.
Well, all you see is you had activity, and you're not even 100% sure what it is. So this data logger is actually recording what's transpiring instrument-wise, scientific-wise, so you have a better chance of being able to see what's happening. And
But you also, go ahead, Jon. I'm sorry.
If you have, if you have EMF activity, or you have a cat ball go off, and this is hitting the same thing, you can see how much activity you actually had because it's measured.
So it's quantifiable. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You also use low tech things like what do they call those? Water witchers.
Dowsing rods.
John, help me out. Yeah, dowsing rods.
Yep.
Now the funny thing is, we were talking about this, and I actually use dowsing rods because you were just like, yeah, just make sure you stay still, make sure that your intention is right, what you're looking for,
Mhm.
and make sure you double check it. Don't just, you know what I mean? And I dug a well, and every meter counts, every yard counts. That's how they measure it. So the interesting thing, John, so you actually helped me and helped me save quite a bit of money using these dowsing rods because my neighbor, his property is about, I don't know, 10 to 15 feet lower than mine down the hill.
Uh-huh.
And he hit water at 25 yards. It's in meters. I'll say meters. At 25 meters, I hit water at, what did I hit mine at? I think 19. But then the pressure in the well actually pushed it up to 16. And in the back of my mind, I cognitively thought about you and said, "Thanks, John," because that was a great. So tell me, what can you do with these dowsing rods?
Anything I want.
All right, John.
Actually, to be honest with you, nobody really knows how they work. Okay, there's again no scientific evidence that they work, or you can't prove that they work, or they can't be measured again. But in my story, how I learned to use dowsing rods was I was very young, like 18 years old. So this is 70 years ago. Well, not 70, 60 years ago, I guess, to be 17.
Long enough, John. Long enough.
But anyway, my dad had an engineering company here in Houston, and we were on a survey crew, and we were out checking for some pipelines and stuff. And next to us, there were some pipelines crossing the plat we were on the survey crew. And I kept telling the guy, "Hey, the markers are here. It's right here." And he says he got his dowsing rods out, walked across, and he put stakes down. He said, "No, this is where they are." I didn't believe him, and of course, I, being the son of the owner of the company, had a little more freedom than most people did. He
Right.
handed me a shovel, and he says, "You dig them up." So I dug a trench about 2 feet wide, 6 feet deep, 25 feet long, and lo and behold, those pipes were exactly where he staked them. And
No kidding.
yeah. And I said, "Hey, show me how to use these things." And I actually spent a year at Dow Chemical in Freeport, locating underground pipe for them on one of the jobs I did. But I have used dowsing rods ever since. I've located graves, I've located car keys, I've located all kinds of things with the dowsing rods, and pretty much electrical lines, rebar, things like that in concrete. Anything that I can picture in my mind, I can find. So I don't know how you connect yourself to it, but what you're picturing is, in your mind. If you're looking for graves, you're going to find graves. If you're in your mind thinking about car keys, you're going to find the car keys. And the better the picture, the stronger the signal.
So Fisher was spam. Excuse me, he made me laugh. Okay, I'll go back and put his comment up. With what shovel did you dig? I'm impressed. You did that in one day, John?
Yes, sir.
Oh my!
I was lucky.
Oh
It wasn't some of the clay soil we have around here, but it was it wasn't I don't know, it was
a spade shovel.
Well, it was rounded on the end, but it was a spade is kind of narrow. This was a wider shovel.
Wasn't it also you, John, that were telling me that you can take the dowsing rods, or you were looking for the keys, because I was very interested in that. Yep. And you can actually go over the map of the terrain, and it'll point you in the right direction. Was that you?
I don't know about that part. I actually just use them, and I just keep following the vibration till they cross. And when they cross, I'm on it.
Wow! And you actually found those?
Yeah.
Well, I might need you to come out here once in a while, because I take my keys and I put them on one of those little like it's like a fake like mountain climbing hook.
Sure.
And put it and make sure it, because if not, I will lose them and I'll never find them again. Now, okay, if I'm also mistaken, please correct me too, John. You said you were in fire rescue. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was a rescue captain in the fire department for 10 years.
Weren't you telling me a story about you were on a roof and something happened?
Yeah.
Okay, could you please go ahead and tell me about that again? Because I found it to be fascinating.
Okay. Well, I had gone up on the roof of a burning building, and I was trying to ventilate the roof. That was my assignment, was to take an axe and chop a hole in the roof and get the smoke out so that the firemen could enter or start to see down below as they got smoke ejectors set up to blow smoke out and to ventilate the building, get the smoke out to help reduce the amount of damage that, was being caused by the smoke and stuff. And as I'm up there on top of this roof, I felt it go bump, and
Okay.
that made me realize that the fire was more serious than I thought it was, bigger than I thought it was, and that it had, damaged the structure itself, and it dropped me a few feet, or was going to drop me a few feet. And I felt it go bump again, and I turned around to go to my ladder to get off the roof so I wouldn't fall in the fire. And somebody had moved my ladder. My ladder was not there. And that's the number one cardinal rule in fire services: don't move a guy's ladder ever. And a chief had directed it to be moved. So anyway, a chief and I had problems afterwards. But anyway, again, it bumped, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And I closed my eyes because I could envision myself falling into the fire, and with the roof and everything. And I heard all this noise as the roof was collapsing, and I don't feel anything. Nothing's happening. And I opened my eyes, and I'm thinking, what the hell? And I'm still where I was. And I look down, and there's a chimney under me. I'm standing on the chimney, and I'm thinking, where did this chimney come from? It was not here on this roof. There was no chimney when I started cutting a hole in this roof, And so I don't know whether God built that chimney under me or what happened, or he put me on that chimney, one or the other. But
I just thought I remember that story when you told me like a year ago, and I was like, I got to get him on to at least tell that part. We've had a lot of interesting questions about dowsing rods. Let me go back and take a look.
Okay.
Let's see. There's somebody asked, I think it was my buddy, Magical Journey. He asked, can you with the dowsing rods, when you're going out investigating, how do you use them? Do you use them like in a yes and no answer type of way?
That's generally what I do. Now, actually, one of the things I do in teaching classes, that's one of the first things I do with people, is train them with the dowsing rods. First off, for somebody that's new in the paranormal, the expense of the equipment, some of the equipment is very expensive, but dowsing rods you can make out of coat hangers. I've got a video out how you straighten out metal coat hangers. And
go over there and check out his channel, guys. Go and like and subscribe. Exploring the Supernatural with Jon, or it's PHI.
PHI, yeah. And it's I also have one on how to use them. And actually, my wife, I have her demonstrate as she walks to and from me, and we're asking questions, and she comes close to me. And I like to use her on some of the demonstrations when we're teaching classes with the dowsing rods, and that she's cooperative with me. And I can count on her, to participate. So all these students that we have come through get the opportunity to use the dowsing rods. They get to feel them. And once you have them in your hands and they actually cross, and I teach people, to kind of point them down. So it takes power to lift them up. And so once you start feeling that power that's in these rods, when you're getting activity because you can feel it in the rods. And the way you hold it is across the handle is on the palm on mine. It goes across my finger and it just rotates in my hand. I don't have a grip on it at all.
So it's like a balancing type situation. Yeah, you're just trying to let them be free.
Yeah,
right.
And against the palm. Yeah, it's balanced over my hand. And so I've got no control over it. Now, they sell a lot of these dowsing rods that have the ball bearing and the wooden handle, and I kind of consider those toys because, I feel like that, I can't feel those when I've used them. With my wire ones, I feel them vibrate. I can feel it. And so I can pick up the dowsing rods, and if there's something present, I know it instantly because it starts vibrating in my hands when I pick them up.
That's incredible. Paul Scott asked a very interesting question. Jon, you could be the type of psychic known as a remote viewer. So it might not be the rods. You might, be able to do what you're doing without them. What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I don't.
I think it's a good question.
It is a good question. No doubt. I do get feelings, and I do get impressions, and I do sense things. But I can't work without the rods. It's just that simple.
Oh well, I understand what you're saying. If I can't play guitar without having it in my hand. So thanks for subscribing, Truth Walker. I really appreciate it. I think could you guys tell me, is the super chat button on at the bottom? I don't know if that's even true or not, because I was on another one and I seen it was on there. I can't look at my own while I'm doing it, so I got to figure that out. All right, John. So you went to a class in, I think you said 2006?
Well, that's when I went to New Orleans and met Chris Moon and took the Ghost Hunter 101 and 102, yeah.
All right.
When I got back to
Houston? Okay.
Yeah, I was wanting to try to get my wife out of bed, try to get her active, back on her feet, and to give her some reason to get out of bed. And so I started looking for a ghost hunting group. I didn't find anybody that I clicked with. So I started a meetup group, which was Houston Ghost Town meetup group. And we, some of the people that joined my group there, I've been with now for 17, 18 years. And some of them are still in the group. We're still ghost hunting together. Yeah.
After 2 decades, you got people that you can just depend on to do what you do.
Yeah.
That's great. So when it comes, so what happens? Does somebody contact you and say, hey, I'm having these situations, or something is happening in my house? Is there a process in which you go through that you kind of vet these people to make sure that maybe it's not something paranormal, that maybe it's something that's explainable by science, or, when it comes to safety concerns? How do you go about that, John?
Well, we have a form that's 3 pages long that we generally send to somebody when they contact us, and we try to get that out. It's got questions on it which cause people to think about what they have going on, and it's got a list of what have you got going on? Are the lights dimming? Are you having electrical activity, plumbing? This, that, and the other.
Wow.
So we can kind of go down the whole list, get a complete picture of what they really have going on. Because if you just sit there talking with them, they kind of don't remember all of it. They don't tell you all of it. And of course, part of that process is to find out if they are on medication, if anybody is on medical treatment.
Wow.
And stuff like that. So we get a complete picture before we start. And,
wow.
But at the same time, a lot of people call us because they don't want to go to a therapist or a psychologist because, hey, the guys in the white coats will put you in a jacket where you hug yourself. And they don't want to experience that. It's easier to talk to paranormal people.
That was funny, dude.
Okay.
We have a question from Paranormal Paul. Once again, he has the Paranormal Longest podcast. Go and check him out. He asked, he's a great guy. Great guy. What is your favorite place to investigate? Maybe one time you can actually go on Paul's podcast. He does lives too once in a while. He's a great guy. What's your favorite place to investigate, John?
Well, I have a couple that are favorites. One of them is the Menger Hotel in San Antonio, but I tend to go to places that are historic in nature,
Yes.
Personal thing. I like the San Jacinto Battleground, and Texas is actually, and Houston area specifically, is growing very rapidly. People are coming from everywhere in the country here because the environment is good, the economics are good, and you can, make a good living here, and the cost is still not astronomical like in some places.
Okay.
People from California and New York are moving here, and I'm worried that they're going to blow.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And they're going to
ruin where they came from.
They come here because it's great, and then they vote to ruin it, And
yeah.
And
people don't know about Texas. The Triangle in Texas is the most happening place in all the United States. In the next, I think, 50 years, Texas will be the most populous state. and the most powerful when it comes to GDP. Absolutely.
Actually,
But if you want to come down there and change what they already built, maybe you should go somewhere else. I don't know
go
what to say.
somewhere else.
I
Don't come
go
here.
somewhere. Yes, don't come.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But
Oh wow.
anyway,
Yeah,
I
away from politics.
I'm looking at historic sites then to kind of I can educate people a little bit at the same time about the history of Texas, how we became what we are, to make them Texans, and hopefully, indoctrinate them a little bit and give them, hey, we celebrate these holidays for these reasons, and what happened here, like the Alamo fell,
Yeah, people
uh,
fail to realize that Texas was its own country for a minute.
yes, at one time a republic.
Yes, it was its own separate thing. That's why people go, "Well, Texas is different." I'm like, "Yeah, it's like it has its own culture, its own roots, and you preserving that as well as adding the paranormal to together is a very interesting thing." And what about that makes you excited?
Well, it all makes me excited because actually, let's go back to the paranormal. I
Yeah,
believe in a past life, I was actually a part of that.
a part of what? Oh, you mean a part of the
Alamo.
Texas of the
Yeah,
party Alamo?
yeah.
Okay, please expound. Please go into a little
Let's
detail
just
about
leave it
that.
at that. I have
Oh
special
no.
feelings when I go to the Alamo, and I was a nobody. So I mean, I just am connected to the Alamo.
That's interesting. So, what about the Alamo is special? Like, what is it about the Alamo that makes? I'm gonna pry a little bit, John. What about the Alamo makes you feel something about Texas being a Texan?
Well, when you have 286 guys that believe in something so strongly that they'll lay down their lives for it, uh, I think that's an impact, and it certainly has an
Yes.
impact on me.
Yeah, you probably know that I'm a former U.S. soldier myself.
Yes,
So
I
I
do. Thank
I
you for your
I did
service.
thank you. And there was always that thing, like the true America, the
Yep,
what you and I grew up in,
yep,
where you actually knew your neighbor, and you
yep,
actually knew your
yeah.
the people in your town, and you help one another.
Yes.
The America that I loved that grew up, and I think Texas it still exists for the most part. But let's so John's trying to keep it that way. Don't throw that he's a conservative on there. He just enjoys the things in which he grew up that made him who he is as a person. So we got to turn that volume off, John. We'll get there.
I've got to turn it off. Yeah, and it was one of my ghost hunters calling.
So, ooh. So tell me a little bit about your channel. What can we find on your channel?
Well, actually, on the Instagram and the X channels, it's mostly about Texas history. Uh, Actually, for the Battle of the Alamo, I go day by day, giving kind of like a news report as to what's happening at the Alamo on March the 2nd, March the 3rd, the March the 6th. And then one of our most popular podcasts that we've had was The Road to San Jacinto, which is the battleground where General Sam Houston, won Texas independence from Mexico. That happened here near Houston, and I had gone to the San Jacinto battleground and taken in a talk that was going on that had a book about the road to San Jacinto, and this guy went and followed Sam Houston's path all the way to the Battle of San Jacinto in the runaway scrape. And why it was the runaway scrape, Sam Houston had felt like that he didn't want to be in a fortified fortress like the Alamo, that you're trapped. He wanted to be able to outmaneuver the Mexicans. And as he did that, he was waiting for them to make a mistake. Instead of being surrounded by them, and
Yeah.
overrun by them, he wanted them to make a mistake where they would split. And so as he's running from them, he's changing his path, and they're separating their army into different groups. So they're actually divided into four different armies, roughly, to try to capture him. And
Okay.
then when he engages Santa Ana, they burn the bridge where reinforcements couldn't get to Santa Ana, and they waited till afternoon to attack. And Santa Ana was expecting a morning attack, And actually, when you're at San Jacinto Battleground in March, well, actually, the battle in San Jacinto happened in April, and on April the 21st. And you're out there that time of the year, the grass is over my head. So, I mean, the Texans can walk through there, and you wouldn't even see them. They'll be on you before you know it. So they were on the Mexicans before the Mexicans even knew they were coming, and the cannons and the
It
battle
was just
lasted
over.
19 minutes.
Wow.
And the Mexicans had their rifles all stacked together, in the little circle things. And they took off running to get away from the Texans. And there was a little swampy area there they ran into, and 600 of them were killed right there. The Texans spent 3 hours killing them because they were still angry about Goliad. They were angry about the Alamo and the slaughter that Santa Anna had done on the Texans at the time. So the Texans were in outrage, and they just continued killing for hours.
Fantastic. For you can see, Jon is really he loves his history. I think it's fantastic. Maryland. I'm from Maryland. We have our history as well, like everywhere else does.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about some of your experiences while you're out, doing your thing. Is there anything that has struck you as being just like, awestruck, your jaw dropped, or is anything that you would like to share with us about your experiences being a paranormal investigator?
Oh, God, I've had a couple of jaw-dropping ones. Yeah, I guess there is one that I recall that is kind of funny in a way. We were at an investigation, and we were picking up some EVPs, and we were talking to an entity, and it said, "I am close." And my next question was, "Well, how close are you?" And lo and behold, right in my ear, it said "close," and I jumped back and I looked at my team, the people that were around me, and I said, "Did y'all hear that?" And they did. And man, I tell you,
oh my God,
yeah,
that's dude. I would run at you. My butt would be on fire as I run out the door. You guys don't know. I couldn't do what you do, man. That's scary, man. That is so scary.
Well, it was a surprise.
Disembodied voices are so scary to me. I think I'd rather see an apparition or a plate fly across the room before I hear a disembodied voice. That's just me, but so I can understand why that would be so frightening.
But it's at my ear, And I think, what the hell, But I've had a number of experiences with shadow figures too I find them to be fun.
The shadow disco. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. We have a question from Paul Scott. Welcome to the show, Paul. Thanks for coming on. I think it's your first time here, if I'm not mistaken. Do different types of spirits manifest differently so you can classify them based on what forms they take?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you?
Neither do I, but I'm going to read it again. Let's proofread it together, Jon. Do different types of spirits manifest differently? So, like, do different types, because I guess they're talking about, like, the ones that keep recurring, and then you have the intelligent, the intelligent ones.
Well, the intelligent ones would be the ones you have to deal with. The residual ones.
Thank you.
Yeah, just keep repeating. They're actually just a movie playing out. It's a recording from the ground and from the surroundings that the imprint that's been made on the surroundings. So it doesn't really change. Somebody says I'd be out the door.
Yeah.
So anyway, those hardly ever change. The intelligent ones can interact with you. They can change and do things, Now, if you go to the ones that are demonic in nature, yeah, they are more evil and they have a bad presence. And the ones that are, average people, they, of course, are like individuals. They are different. Each one is different. They're their own person.
Yeah, I think Paul. I think he's trying to clarify his question by saying the different types, like is an orb a certain type of entity, is a shadow figure a certain type of entity, or like the mist or gas or full body, or are they just some type of fluctuation of the same thing?
Well, nobody knows for sure exactly what some of these things are. It's not been proven. I believe that orbs are spirits that are coming through, and that's the way they choose to display themselves to you. I think sometimes that a person that is close to you may appear to you, maybe your grandmother or your mother or something, and they don't want to frighten you, and they will take on a different appearance so that they don't scare you, and they can sit there and interact and talk with you as a
Oh,
full-blooded.
wow. So they read your energy and then try to reflect it so that they can actually contact you.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah. So
Wow, dude.
I know of some cases that we've dealt with that we've had that happen, where I know that the person that came to them was a family member that was cloaked, if you want to call it cloaked, so that they would not be recognized. But they did have things that that they could remember about the voice being the same and the eyes being the same, but the appearance wasn't the same. And so there were things that made them feel that what they're talking to is familiar to them, but they couldn't quite identify it or put their finger on it.
Interesting. We had a question. I don't remember who asked it. It was a while back. Someone says, "Have you ever run across?" And I know it's not a good question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. But maybe it is. Have you? You're a man of faith, as you were telling me. Have
Yep,
you ever ran across a demonic entity, or one that you can pinpoint and say this is actually a demonic entity?
we have
Oh,
a number of times.
okay. Like, so how would you? Okay, so you have your classifications, I'm sure, of certain types. I think that's what kind of what Paul was alluding to.
Yep.
So how would you say, okay, this specific energy entity is demonic? How would you, make that distinction?
Well, if it's demonic, of course, it's not of God. It's evil, and it has, evil intent. Things that God gives you are loving and caring, and then He won't give you anything that's evil. So, and a lot of times I don't see it as well as some people do because I don't want to go into that part of it
That's
tonight
fine.
anyway. But I am very religious, and evil things don't like to deal with me because they can't affect me. Uh,
That's the same thing that the Paranormal Roundtable Josh Turner was saying. He
okay.
says he can walk into the room and that stuff will just
It,
go away.
yeah, it goes away. It's not present in my presence, and it doesn't
Right.
want to deal with me, and I can understand why. But
Oh, yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Well,
because I'll send it straight to hell, and it doesn't
yeah.
like that. It knows I have the power, and so it
Right,
doesn't
because
want to mess
I'm not a
around.
religious person per se, John. I'm a man
Yeah,
of God. I believe
yeah,
in God. I believe in a higher power. You know what I mean? I do talk to God in my own way, and everyone does their own
yeah,
thing. But I
yeah.
do know that the name Jesus Christ definitely holds some type of power over these demonic or evil type entities. Can you say anything to that?
Yes, absolutely. Because and that's what Jesus gave us the ability to do is to cast them out and to get rid of them, and He gives it to everybody. So use His name and make it so.
Fantastic. So before we get you up out of here, we got a couple more minutes. Is there anything that you want to tell us that you have coming up? Do you have anything that's interesting that you would like to share with us, or something in the works, or are you just going to keep doing what you're doing because you love it?
Oh, we're going to keep doing what we're doing because we
There
love
you
it.
go, John.
And it also gives us something to do every day. Being 78, I'm kind of retired, semi-retired. I
Kind
still
of,
have a
kind of,
couple of
John.
jobs because I have to eat. But I do love doing what I do. I do love the paranormal, and we are getting ready to go to Waverly Hills, July the 18th,
Oh, Waverly Hills. I've heard of that place. Where's that? Where's that?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. That is a former not
Mental
house. What
health
have you been? Mental health
asylum,
facility. I can't.
yeah,
The word was not. I can think of the easy ones, but all that
sanitarium.
PC, all that political correctness. I can't remember because they always make it for some reason when it's politically correct. There's more syllables and more words involved to say the same thing. So I can't remember all the time what they're referring to.
Yeah.
Oh, Magical Journey. Have you ever been to Waverly Hills? I know that Magical Journey has been to Mount Shasta. So
Okay.
I know, yeah, coming up too, guys. In a couple of weeks, I've talked to people who've been to Skinwalker Ranch and a couple other things. That was a very interesting podcast that I had coming up. So keep that. So have you been there, Magical Journey? Have you been to Waverly Hills? Sorry, we're on hold,
Me?
John. I know we're having an
No,
interview, but
I haven't. I haven't
no,
been.
I know you haven't, John. That's why you're going. But I think because he
Yeah.
says it's awesome, or maybe he's seen videos of that in the nature.
Okay.
What can you say about Waverly Hills? Why is it so famous?
Well, I think it's famous because so many people died there. It's kind of like some of the battlefields that when you have that many people that have perished in that location or had that kind of thing, the passing, I think, gives off this energy and it creates the more people that have died there. In my opinion, the most haunted place in the world is Galveston, Texas. We had 10,000 people die in a storm there in 1900, and you can't go anywhere in Galveston, Texas that's not haunted. They're all over the streets. They're everywhere. So, I think that is what helps some of these places be haunted.
Yeah, he was saying that one of his friends went there. Okay, so Waverly Hills is famous because it's a hot spot because of that energy of however you
Yep.
want to call it, or
Yep.
going to the next life, or the energy transformation seems
Yep.
to be hotter in those areas. All
Right.
right, so you're going to keep doing what you're doing, and John, I think this was one of my favorite interviews I've had in a while. Not to downplay any of the other ones. I know you. Not I don't know you, but I've spoken
Yep.
with you before, and I know I don't have to feel you out. I kind of know how you are and where you're coming from. But I did learn some interesting things about you. I did not know that you are 78 years old, looking like you're 62. You got to tell me your secret. You can tell me off air. That's between you and me. Maybe you can, promote a product or something. And
I don't have any products to promote, but I will tell you that I've been a little disappointed in myself that I had watched your podcast and I had meant to come on tonight wearing my Jason hockey mask carrying a machete.
You're going to let me down. You're going to tell us that now. That's a little.
I meant to do that, and we had kind of a foul up there at the start, so I forgot to get my machete and my hockey mask.
Okay, John, one more time. Please tell everyone where they can find you and follow your investigations and maybe support you guys so they can get that tax refund so that you can keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Okay. Well, on our Facebook page, we have a place where you can connect to us on PayPal and make a donation to us, or you can contact me on the phone numbers that are on our Facebook accounts, and I can take Vimo, Cash App, credit cards, whatever, if you want to make a donation. We'd love to have a donation. It is helpful to keep us going. And
you also like, if I remember right, you also like clean up cemeteries and make sure that
yes, we have. We've cleaned up cemeteries.
So they do a lot of things like that. Go cut the grass and make sure that no one's like vandalizing and cleaning those things up too. So John's a very, very busy man. He also has this channel, once again, Exploring the Supernatural with
John, or PHI. Houston Investigations.
I wanted to say PDI. I do not know why. PDF? I don't know. Maybe something there. All right. So, John, thanks so very much. And like I said, you can always go ahead and put whatever you need to support yourself on my Facebook page. And don't be a stranger, dude.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you, buddy. So that was Jon Strohbehn. What a great guy. What a great interview. I had a lot of fun. I want to thank to all the new people who came on today. Paul Scott, Shade Viking. Who else was on here? We got our regulars. We got Fisher. We got Pam. We got Magical Journey. I'm going through all the Paranormal Paul. Thanks for coming on. Go subscribe to his channel. Thank you all so very much for coming on the Eye of Jupiter. I love each and every one of you. And let me make sure I get to the right part on this thing so I can do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to add a comment. All those little things takes you 2 seconds to say, you can say anything. Write whatever you want. I'll respond to most of them. I'll almost respond to all of them. It depends. If it's negative, I kind of keep out of that. Let's make sure that we keep this group about trying to find about these phenomenon, paranormal, UFOs. If you want to talk about UFOs, Paul's the guy to talk to. That guy has had a lot of great people on his channel come and talk with him. And we'll keep doing what we're doing. Like I said, you can also find me on Rumble. Eventually, I'm going to put up some more, stuff that you can't put on YouTube on Rumble. And I'm also on Spotify as well. And there's a PayPal link at the bottom. You want to send me $1? I'll take $1. It runs a long way down here for me, and I could use every bit of help so I can upgrade my equipment and bring you guys a better product. And remember, you are watching the Eye of Jupiter. We are the Eye, and we are aware. I love you all very much. Until next time. You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyeofjupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. Thank you.